Good afternoon, and thank you to Werner for helping us bring news to the community. Today, I've got one of our council members, Paul Gandy, with me. I'm Connie Boyer, and so we're going to talk about kind of what's been happening over the last couple of months, because we did not do this in June for various reasons. Oh no, we did it in June. We didn't do it in July because of RAGBRAI. That's what it was. So anyway. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to talk about is Main Street, and then we'll move into the housing study. So, Paul just came fresh off of a meeting yesterday about our Main Street application, and take it away. Tell us what you found out yesterday.
Thank you, Mayor. So there's a organization called Main Street, Iowa. Actually, it's Main Street, and they have this organization which is all throughout this country. And for Iowa, what they do is, if you apply as a city and you're designated a Main Street community, you get resources of experts in downtown revitalization. That's a subject that's very near and dear to me and to the city of Fairfield, I believe, because we're always looking for ways to make this city grow and be more interesting and be more friendly for people who live here, and to invite others to move here, raise their families and grow. So Main Street Communities offers the kind of resources that would sort of put us on the fast track to achieving our goals as a city. We applied for it, having found out about this program just a few months before the application was due. We applied for being designated a Main Street community, and we made a presentation before the Iowa Economic Development Authority in Des Moines just last month in July. Of the 5 cities which presented, they chose 2. Typically, a city, when they apply for Main Street designation, will go through 2 applications, 2 cycles. And we're not unlike other cities in that we went through 1 application. This was our first. We were not designated a Main Street community, but we have high hopes that the next time around, the next cycle, we will be. We've learned a lot from that. We learned a lot from that interaction. We presented before something called a Main Street Advisory Council, and they gave us ideas on what we can do to continue to grow our city, make it more robust, make it more attractive, make it a city that we all want to live and enjoy. They were with us just yesterday doing a debriefing of our presentation, and many of these, so we call our Main Street Downtown, our Main Street Iowa Fairfield committee, met with a couple of members of the advisory council, spent about an hour going over the review of our presentation, and they gave us recommendations as how we can proceed as a city, perhaps to be successful in application next cycle. We learned a lot, and they're also going to be coming back to our town in November to do something called a Main Street or downtown assessment. So under the mayor's leadership, we are a dynamic city, and we want to look at all the kind of resources we have available in the state to help continue to grow it. And this Main Street community designation, we think, offers another channel for us to do just that, grow and to bring more prosperity and better living to all our citizens. So we're working on that, and we had a very successful, as I say, meeting yesterday with this advisory council, and we think that that's going to lead to greater heights for the city going forward.
I think everything in its right time, right?
Right.
I think the chamber, different people have looked at Main Street before, but
yes.
For various reasons, it just wasn't the right time. Now it's a focus of the downtown is such a focus of the city. It's a focus of the chamber, it's a focus of CVB and Grow Fairfield, and so what I see going forward is these 4 entities really collaborating, and also our community members who want it. So it's the right time.
Absolutely. Fairfield, I think, and this is one of the things they commented upon, Fairfield really is a tale of 2 cities. I actually said that at our presentation. They like that, and actually that's what we see. If you go downtown in Fairfield, you see a city that sort of is on the cusp. It can go one way or the other, and that in terms of it can grow and develop, or there's things in the city we need to improve. It can go the other way in terms of the city. Obviously, the downtown retail sector could be more vibrant, we think, but you have your Walmarts in most small towns in Iowa, and they draw out some of the traditional retail storefronts that we used to have. So there's other things that we can do to enliven a downtown, and we're working on those other things, and we're doing those things. But at the same time, there's that chance that there's that pull for the downtown to decay are declined. So we're right at that place where there are very much exciting things we're doing to build our downtown, but also there are things on the other side which could pull it to a decline. And with that tale of two cities, we want to, of course, move it in the positive direction. Main Street and other things we're doing, I mean, there are lots of organizations involved, Connie just mentioned them, are all, I think, focused on revitalizing our downtown, using our creativity to make it go in the direction we want it to, which is up and not, which is forward and not back.
Yeah. And with that, that's an easy transition to that other big topic in Fairfield, which is housing.
So important.
So let's talk a little bit about the housing study we did last year, because you chaired that, and we can talk about kind of how we're moving forward with that.
Absolutely.
Too.
The housing study is the housing study, I think the official name is a Rural Housing Assessment Study. So Iowa State University has a group which focuses on housing in rural areas, Fairfield being designated as a rural area, and they go around the state if we invite them, and if they accept us as a client, I guess, if you will, they'll come to a city, Fairfield in this case, and they will talk with its residents, talk with its leaders, and prepare a report that we can use to address any issue that may be of importance to us. The most important issue that we've determined, our city council and other organizations, Connie has mentioned, the most important issue facing our city right now is the need for more housing, more quality housing. That's a key. And so this study, this organization is devoted to giving a city the information it needs to be able to craft an action plan to actually achieve the goal of more quality housing. It's interesting that one of the key components of their study is to complete a survey. They'll prepare a survey, and they'll ask that city residents complete that survey. I think you complete it electronically and submit it directly to them. And with that survey, they use that data actually to prepare their report. The report, as you know, is no better than the data that's gathered for it. So one of the things I'm very proud of is that our city, we have the population for the city is around 10,000, roughly. We had over 1,000 residents, complete that study and submit it. That's about 4 times what you might expect, 4 times the average. So what that shows us is that our citizens, our residents are very much engaged, very much committed to enlivening this community. And they wanted to give the information to that particular organization so they could come out with the best crafted, most useful study. And I will say I'm also proud of the fact that the reason we were able to gather so many, attract so many citizens to submit that study is because of the work of the City Council. We were very proactive in informing the citizens about the study and recruiting and promoting the study so that citizens respond to it, and they really stepped up.
Yep, that's very, very true. And so where it's going now, there's a lot of attention from Grow Fairfield, which also known as FIDA. That's
right.
what we kind of have known them as for a really, really long time, and now they go by Grow Fairfield. And again, it's been an attention of the city. And I would say over the last 3, 4, 5 years, there's just been a lot of talk. Well, what could we do? And, how do we do it? Well, I think finally we're going to see some shovels in the ground here in the next year, which is great. So Grow Fairfield is just finishing up their strategic plan. And by the way, last year, as we know, Grow Fairfield had some changes in personnel, so that housing study kind of got in a little bit of a lull, and so it's now being picked up again by Grow Fairfield. They're just finishing their strategic plan, and a big portion of that is that housing. So that old housing and some of those action items are being rounded up into this new plan, and I think we're going to see things going forward. So with that, there's action. A couple things. We can talk about what's happening, the land that they purchased just on the south side of town. There was a meeting last night with contractors to talk about potential properties. If the city gets any of those properties, are they interested in taking those over? How would that work for them? What's the best West Bay, what are they interested in? What's the best way to work with contractors that might want to take on a house that either we condemn or needs help, or somebody gives us the house, right? Sometimes there are occasions when an owner may say, I don't have the funds to fix this house. They can get a tax deduction if they give it to the city. But the city is limited on their resources to either tear down houses. We're not in the business of rehabbing houses, so we have to partner in some way, in some form. There has to be this process. So there were just some good conversations last night with contractors. But Paul, can you talk a little bit about the potential housing development that's on the south side and how this city's participating with that?
Sure. So FEDA, Fairfield Economic Development Association, it's now known, or often known as Grow Fairfield, partnering with the city, actually FEDA itself, purchased a parcel of land which is just west, south of town, but just west, just right next to the Jefferson County Health Center. And that was a long negotiation, which I believe our previous executive director of FEDA, Josh Larrabee, was spearheaded. That purchase was completed, I think, last year. And the city was very much involved in the negotiation and also in facilitating the purchase. The city has made a commitment to this development, to this potential development with FEDA as a partner, to grant an attractive financial package to allow FEDA to go ahead and develop this land. Now, FEDA, as you know, or may not know, is a group of private companies, successful, committed, engaged companies in Fairfield and the surrounding area. So they not only talk the talk, but they walk the walk, because they commit with their own dollars, their own revenue, to help build out the city. So there, we think they're we like them as a partner, and the city is willing to partner with businesses like this. So this is another example of, as was right next to it, the Child Care Center, the Cambridge Little Achievers Center. It's very much an example of a private-public partnership. We think that based upon the development process, there may be homes starting to be built as soon as next year, or if not that, 2027. And this is going to go a long way toward addressing that housing shortage that we see. We've got commitments from some of our largest, most successful companies that, yes, we need more housing. We need more housing to be able to attract the kind of workers we want in our company. Rather than they live elsewhere, they want to live here. They want to live here, but they need the housing supply to be able to do so. So this is something that we've been working on, and this is something that I think we're going to see the fruits of in terms of actual houses in a very short period of time. Short being in the housing industry, short being, we'd say, in the next 1 to 2 years.
Yeah. And probably, I think it's around 34 acres, probably that will be developed probably in 3 phases. Certainly the city's portion is going to be getting in utilities, sewer, water, electric, and that kind of thing. So lots of pieces to put together, and those plans are really being developed now and figuring out how we move forward together as a community on that. Another thing that we talk about housing with is, let's talk about this federal grant, because there is a piece of that has to do with housing. So there is a group called the Resilient Action Committee. These are people in our community who are working on, just different things. They're looking for different opportunities that the community can look at. They bring ideas to City Council and see if they want to move forward on something. Turns out that there is a grant. It's a federal grant that has several pieces to it, but they brought that to the council. The council wants to move forward on it, and one of the pieces has to do with housing. And do you want to talk about that, or
Sure.
do you want me to go ahead?
Sure. So let me just preface by saying this. The good thing about our city and our mayor and our council, I will say, some of this is self-serving, but definitely our mayor is a leader on this, is that when we find an issue or a problem that we think is significant, we talk about it, and we talk about it a lot. And that's important, because if the citizens, our residents, see that we care about it, then they start to pay attention and care about it. And if they also see us do something about it, and we do something about it in terms of partnering with private businesses, then more and more people become engaged, and we see more and more success. So there is a city, which is, of course, we're talking from the point of view of the city, But there are many private entities, and as Connie has just mentioned, there's this group called the Resilience Action Committee. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
And there's the Convention Visitors Bureau, and there's FIDA, and which is called Grow Fairfield, and there's other organizations that they're almost too numerous to name. We could probably mention them all, but they're more than what I've just said, and they're all in their own way working. In this particular, we're talking about housing. In their own way, they're working toward addressing our housing shortage. And so sometimes we coordinate more closely than we do other times. Sometimes we compete. And I think those are all good things because it means ultimately more for the citizens. With regards to this program that Connie is referring to, this is, I think, a part of I think it's called the Inflation Recovery Act passed by the federal government. And if we are successful in getting this grant, we're talking about $10 to $20 million. $10 to $20 million that we could use. A portion of it could be used to address some of our housing concerns, maybe improve the current housing stock we have in certain portions of the city. And this is something that came to the city from people who were essentially volunteers working together as a group. They've identified this as a source, perhaps, of a resource for the city. They've worked together for, they're not getting paid for this. They're doing it for the love of the city, for the love of the growth of the city. And they brought this to the city as something that they'd like to pursue with the city's partnership. And in hearing them talk about it and asking questions about it, we've decided that, yeah, this is a good idea. We want to work with you in moving forward and trying to attract this grant, because if we do attract this grant, it's an enormous sum and it would do a lot of good for the city.
So what that would do as far as really in housing is, as we know, we've got an older housing stock. And there is a section of the city where a lot of those older houses are, and we want to be able to help residents where needed. So for example, it may be that an older home, needs new windows, or maybe they need a new roof or new siding. So these are kind of things that would help increase the value of the home, make the home more livable, more safe, give a better environment for the homeowner. So these are the kinds of things that they would be looking at doing. Also within this grant, there is an air pollution part of it. And that part would be looking at, okay, some of these homes have challenges. Maybe the basement's leaking water, so how can we tighten that up? And if it has had water or the roof was leaking, do we have a mold issue in that home? Mm-hmm. So a mold issue, Iowa's notorious for radon issues. So those are a couple things that that could be used and improved in homes that potentially might have those kinds of issues. So those are the kind of housing things we're talking about. The other thing we're talking about in that grant is a discussion about the Roosevelt Center, and that means the old school, the old Roosevelt School. As you know, it's attached to, again, the Cambridge Fitness Center. Mm-hmm. It's the downstairs is primarily used, that's where the weight equipment is, but the upper levels are not used to their capacity. There are issues with the building. We know at some point we're gonna have to put some money into that building. Either it's a tear down or a fix up. And so it is the potential that we could do an assessment on that building. Do we have asbestos issues that need to be remediated? Could we use that as a resource center? Could we use it as a center for after disaster? Could we get solar on the building and or the Cambridge Sportsplex? So that, again, it could be a center for after disaster, either cooling in the summer, if we had a tornado go through here and it wiped out several houses, could that be a place where people bunk for a few days, right? Where they have air conditioning. Likewise, if it's in the wintertime and we have a huge ice storm, it knocks out electricity, could this be a warming center for, multiple people? We can think of things like food storage and water storage, things that have, significant, if there's a significant disaster in some way in Fairfield, to be able to use that building for those kinds of things. So these are, again, things that we're going to be looking at.
Absolutely.
So we don't know what that looks like yet, But again, we're going to be in the process of writing this grant. We have hired, or I should say we're in the process of hiring the grant writers out of Des Moines, and they have a success record of bringing in $50 million under their grant writing skills, so we feel really confident that they can write us a good grant. They know what they're doing. They've been down this road before, so we're excited about that process. So there'll be a lot more to come on that. A couple things that have been on the city's agenda. Let's talk about the dog ordinance.
The dog ordinance. So
again, the dog ordinance. I don't know how else to say it, but it's the dog ordinance. It's only dogs. It's not cats.
We are always, obviously, the city is always interested in keeping our residents safe. And there's been some concern and some problems, problems with some of our residents. Maybe they have too many animals, too many dogs in their property. And if you have too many, they can cause problems. They can cause problems in terms of sanitation, health. They can cause problems in terms of nuisance or annoyance or danger, actually, to neighbors. And that's been a long-standing concern. When I say long-standing, certainly for the last year, with particularly some of our residents having maybe dozens of animals, dozens of dogs in their property. When that's not normal, it's not usual, it's atypical. And they may have their reasons, but when it comes to the point where it poses a public safety hazard or is a public safety nuisance to the larger community, then the city, we believe it's fair for us and reasonable for us and just for us and the right thing for us to step in. So we have amended our ordinance, or we are in the process of amending our ordinance regarding animals to typically limit the number of dogs that a resident can have on their property, domesticated dogs, to 4. We think this is the right thing to do in the sense that it will help move away from the problem that people who have too many dogs in their property is causing. And so we're, I think, at our third reading. We're going to have our third and final reading in September. All the council, all 7 of the members and the mayor believe and our public safety officers believe this is a good ordinance, a good change to the ordinance that will keep our citizens safer. And so we're hopeful it's going to pass, and we hope what it means, we think what it's going to mean is that all of us are going to feel a little bit more safer and have a chance to be a little bit healthier because of this sort of limitation, the amount of dogs you can keep in your property.
Yeah. Now, there are some exceptions. Exceptions are, if your dog has a litter of puppies and you got 6 puppies, okay, that's fine.
Right.
And you won't continue to have those, most likely. So, or if you're keeping an additional dog for a family member or a neighbor for a period of time, that's okay too. There were 3 exceptions. I can't remember what the third one is, so I'm blanking out. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, there are some reasonable exceptions, so don't worry. Nobody's trying to make it burdensome for you if you've got 5 or 6 dogs for this short period of time. So,
right.
Again, that's on the agenda. If you want to speak about it, there'll be, before the ordinance goes to the final vote, I always open a public hearing, so if somebody has an objection or somebody wants to add something to that, they can. And if there's something that's very compelling, the council can choose to table it and not push it through that third reading and maybe wait till the next time. So anyway, that's kind of the process. So there's that. And then also the thing that's really top of mind for people is the brush site, right? It 2 weeks ago was closed temporarily, and while we problem solve it. So September 7th, you got a pickup load of brush in the back of your truck, you can take it to the city shed, not the brush site, the city shed on West Jefferson.
Right.
Is it 1002?
I thought it was 2000, but
now I've forgotten the address. Sorry, Joe.
Street department.
Joe's going to be mad at me because I can't remember the address, but it is the street department.
Right.
So leave it there from 7 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. on Saturday, September 7th. Joe will be there. He will be taking it, and the street department will then move it wherever they're going to move it. So, and then in October, starting Monday, October 7th, we will do the regular brush pickup. So that weekend prior, you can put that on your curb, and the city crew will come by and pick it up. And then City Council is going to go back to the drawing board and figure out what's the best way to move forward on the brush site. So
yeah, our street department, Joe Hurd is the head of our street department. You can believe us when we tell you that he's working very hard and taking input from citizens and from council and from the mayor and city staff on what's the best way to move forward. We think that leaving the brush site open as it has been is not sustainable. It's too expensive for the city. There's too many people, unfortunately, abusing it. That is to say, people like contractors. It's not meant for contractors, but contractors taking over huge amounts of wood, logs, and dumping it on the city. And the city really doesn't have the means to dispose of that. So we're trying to find a way that accommodates the needs of our residents, people who want to use it for what it's intended, and to minimize the abuse of it. So we're going to come up with a solution. Not sure what it's going to be, but we're definitely working on it. You can count on us as a city that we're working on finding a solution that makes sense.
Yeah. On a good note, Crow Creek Bridge we see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And it should be open by October 1. So about a month away, people. So we're excited about that. That's our good news for the day. And that bridge is a little bit longer and a little bit wider, I believe. Mm-hmm. And when that opens, also the trail get open underneath there, the loop trail, so that's exciting. The entrance to the Parkview was pushed further east, so it's a safer place to get into an up their driveway, so that's all great news too. So we're excited to open that. And then, because it's been a long couple of years.
What's cool about being in the city government is that we get to see the things we do get done. We can see them. So when Crow Creek Bridge is open, we can drive over it. We can drive by it. We can see it. It's not across the country. It's not some other part of the state. It's right here in the city in which we live. So that's a pretty cool thing about being involved in city government. What's cool about being involved with this city government is that we have a mayor who likes to get things done, as does the council. And we know we can't do it all by ourselves. All of us have our own jobs outside of council, or we're recently retired. So we only have so many hours a week to devote to council. That's why working with our citizens and our private businesses is so important. It gives us a chance for so much more success, which we've had, because we don't do it by ourselves. And hopefully those who are listening will know that we're always always looking to work with partners, people who have the best interests of the city in mind. Because if you do, and the ideas are good, we have a city behind us, a city government, that will support that.
Great. So one of the things that's also been happening over the summertime is we had a gentleman, Tyrell, who was knocking on doors looking at lead lines. So Tyrell, God bless him, he went and he's got a new job, a new full-time job. I'm not sure where that's at, but anyway, he's left the employ of the city. We're sorry to see him go, but we wish him very well in his new position. So we're still not quite done with this survey. So you can do the survey yourself. And the way you do that is, first of all, you may have gotten one of these on your doorknob if he knocked on your door and you weren't there. You can go to the city's website and click on the water department tab, and apparently it's up on the top, and do the survey yourself. And I guess I'm not sure exactly, I haven't been there to see what questions it asks you.
I did the survey. It's very short. Yeah, I did the survey online. Very short, but it's essential information. We need this information. We're required, actually, to gather this information regarding the lead content in the water and your water pipes.
Yeah, and so that survey, the EPA requires that those surveys to be done by October 2024. So if you haven't talked to Tyrell this summer, make sure you go on the city's website, or you can come up to this city hall. There is a QR code you can use. I'm not sure if that's on the website either, but at any rate, make sure you get your survey done. So I'm plugging that. The last couple things that I want to plug are two other things. The city and the county both are getting, well, I shouldn't say both are getting, but they're getting into this county coffers what's called the Opioid Settlement. This is money that came from a lawsuit. It's kind of like the tobacco lawsuit. And it has to do with opioids. And so there is some money available to the city and county to work on that particular issue in Jefferson County. With that in mind, a group of citizens, government officials are meeting about every other month to figure out how to use that money. So number one, if you've got a great idea, there are only certain ways that money can be used. But one of the ways we're going to use that money is next April. And I don't have the date with me, but just, be watching. We'll publish that date here coming up. That date, we're going to have a gentleman. His name is Jermaine Galloway. He's also known as the Tall Cop. And the reason he's called the Tall Cop is because he's very tall. He played basketball in college, and he was a police officer. And he has an interest in, drug awareness. And so one of the fascinating things that he will come to Fairfield. He's going to go around to our different businesses, our grocery stores, our gas stations, and then he's going to help educate our community about what's there. And because what I've come to find out is that there's a lot of things being marketed to our children. Parents do not know that some of this candy is not just completely tame. It's not like the candy that we grew up on. It may have an effect to the brain, and we need to be much more aware. So, and he'll talk about drug trends that are coming, and he'll also do some continuing education for people in the medical field, for our administrators, our teachers, whoever can go. So there'll be a couple opportunities, one at night and one in the morning, for people to come and listen to what he has to share with our community. So I'm really excited for him to come. There have been people in our community that have gone to one of his seminars. I know last year they did one in Van Buren County. It's very informative and very good. So that's coming next April. On another topic, we have, again, just volunteers, community members who care about mental health in our community. And we are bringing, with the help of a couple of grants that we wrote. I want to thank Cambridge publicly for their foundation, who's given some money towards that, and the Greater Jefferson County Foundation, and I think we have some businesses that are participating as well. There's a young lady named Emma Bonneau, who is in her early 20s now. She's a paraplegic. When she was a high school cheerleader, very peppy, cute girl. Her peppiness, her smiles, were not what was going on in the inside, and she tried to commit suicide. She was in a dark place, obviously, but she's still here with us, and now she's on the other side of it, trying to help other people. So this will be a suicide prevention program. She'll come to our high school. She's going to talk to our high school kids, our Jefferson County kids, and then, so that will be during the week, and then this is towards the end of October, by the way. So again, we're going to get posters out here pretty soon. On Sunday, whatever date that is, that last of October, will be there. Oh, I didn't say, there's a documentary about her. And so that movie will be shown at the Fairfield Arts and Convention Center. We are working with them as well to show the movie. And then there'll be discussion afterwards. At both these events, there will be mental health providers there, if anybody wants to go talk to anybody, because it's going to stir up some emotions. Mm-hmm. But she's really great also with talking with the kids. So she will only be here for the event with the kids. The other one will be a community event. So I have watched the movie. It's very touching. It's sobering. It's a lot of range of emotions, I guess. It's sobering, but it's uplifting, and there's a positive message there. And so it helps the community. Mm-hmm. Again, do something. We know that we, like any other community, has been touched by suicides in our community. I actually did talk to our chief about this not too long ago, because someone had been concerned that our numbers were higher than normal, and I did find out that that is not true. That our attempted suicides and our actual suicide in our community are near the average, or our average for the whole country. So, not that that's comforting, but at least it's not more than the average. So anyway, so a small thing to help our community, and I think we've pretty much mentioned everything that we want to talk about. You want to just mention this real quick? This is the school bond.
Fairfield School District. We're looking at our local paper, the Fairfield Ledger, and this is just Thursday's edition. That's yesterday. Fairfield School District asks public to support new middle school. So by now, or hopefully soon, you will know that this coming November in the election, one of the things on the ballot in Jefferson County will be a bond issue, or a question of whether or not you're willing to support the Fairfield School District issuing a bond to be able to build a new middle school. We encourage you to become informed about what the bond would be used for, why it may be a good idea, but why it may not be. It's your decision, you're the voter. But we encourage you to find out about it. This is an important step that many people think is needed in order for Fairfield to have a good future, a better future. So there's going to be a lot of outreach done by members of the school board and by others who are going to be holding various meetings around the county to inform you of the importance of this election with regard to the school board. They give you the ins and outs, the pluses and minuses, so you can make an informed decision when you go into the voting booth in November and vote one way or the other. Now, of course, there'll be early voting, which I think starts as early as October, and you'll be able to vote earlier if you wish. But nonetheless, find out about this. It's an important issue. It's important for the future of Fairfield, and we want everyone to be as informed as possible to make the right decision.
Absolutely. Great. Well, that exhausts our list for today.
All right.
And so until September, enjoy the weather. It's getting cooler.
Yeah, that's
and
nice.
We're soon going to have fall.
That's, yeah. I'm ready for that.
Another summer wrapped up. All righty. Thanks, Werner.